When we first started making things and selling them, we had no clue what we were doing.
And now we're selling wholesale to West Elm, which is crazy.
So we're going to take you guys along with us and share what we learned along the way.
And
Working on some products.
this is our incomplete guide to selling stuff you make. For anyone who's curious about how handmade products are sold at craft fairs, online, or on a bigger scale. As we go through all these points, we're actually working on a West Elm order that has to be out soon, so we're going to multitask and finish up these Texases.
So if you're watching this, you might already have some ideas of what you want to sell, but just in case, we'll go over a few tips. A good place to start is with yourself. What do you like around your house?
Or, just in case you end up with a bunch of extra product, what do you not mind having around your house?
It's actually something we thought about.
And another thing we did was some online research and find out what's trending and figure out what we thought other people would like too.
And get inspired by the good and bad designs out there. We also thought about the manufacturing side of things. What can you do in larger batches? We started with 3D printing, specifically with this deer head.
This one, exactly.
We also did simple woodworking projects, concrete projects that are made in a mold so you can batch them in the mold, and in general things that scale well, because hopefully you start selling a little and then you sell a lot more and you have to be ready for that increase. One last thing you should consider when choosing something to sell is if it's worth your time.
Figure out the general price that the item you're making goes for and see if that price matches up with what you're willing to sell it for.
And if it doesn't, great, move on. If it does, you're good to go. Speaking of pricing,
We got an order from one of the Houston stores, from San Antonio, and from Austin. So we have a lot of stuff to make. Now we're going to talk about price. You probably can't read this. So price is the trickiest part. It was for us.
Yeah.
So what we did was work backwards. For our pop-up shops in West Elm, we talked to the folks in charge, found out what was a good price point to aim for, and tried to find something that we could make within that price point. If you want to sell on Etsy, you could do research and see what price point sells on Etsy, etc. Then calculate the time and materials needed to actually make your product and make sure that you can profitably sell it at that price point. And lastly, keep in mind if you want to sell it wholesale, companies are often going to take about half of your price. So you'll only make half the profit on those. We actually are local vendors. We're delivering our product. So there's a few different places you can sell stuff. One is the internet.
So there's Etsy, which is great because it's a known platform, people trust it, and there's a good audience that might search for you, but also
And it makes things really easy.
Yeah, it makes things easy, but there's a lot of people on there, and if you direct someone to your Etsy page, and they're like, oh, I like this, but this one's about the same price, and
Yeah.
they can also get lost. If it's your own site, then you have them, but it might but it might be hard for them to find you.
Something that applies to both Etsy or your own online store is, it's easy to reach a wider audience than you might in person, but the downside is you have to deal with shipping, which can be a pain. Easier on Etsy, but still kind of a pain.
Still a pain.
There's also There's also in-person things like craft fairs or the pop-up shops we do at West Elm. And those are great because you can talk to people. It's like a free focus group.
Yeah, and it's not just talking. The focus group is if they're buying or not.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good test for your prices.
Yeah.
So that's really great. But the downside is there's a lot of logistics you have to deal with. We'll talk about those more later. And also, it can be a really slow day.
It can be.
Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes it's really slow. It just takes up a lot more of your time.
And lastly, there's wholesale, which is really exciting. You've made it. People are buying your stuff in bulk. The downside is it's usually half the profit. So that's where the scale that we talked about earlier comes into play. If you can batch things out and scale, then as you scale, the price per item goes down.
But one cool thing is it's usually regular orders and bigger orders. So even if you're making less per item, you still may be making more overall than you would if you only did craft fairs, for example.
It's hard to sell stuff if people don't know that you're selling stuff. So in order to sell, you're going to have to do some promoting. And having an audience is key to that. You have to be very active on socials. Start up a Facebook and Instagram, all of that. We actually started an Instagram just for Evan and Katelyn. And if you scroll all the way back, it's cat pictures and products.
Yeah, before YouTube.
Yeah. And also, if you're doing an event like a crafts fair or anything, push it out on all your socials, make a Facebook event for it. Be that annoying person that like tells everyone around them what you got going on.
Yeah, only just be slightly annoying.
Be that slightly annoying person. Is there a San Antonio box I can grab? You're cute.
So once you have all of that figured out, there's a bunch of logistics that you also have to figure out. One is packaging and shipping. What are people gonna receive your products in? Is it gonna be boxes? Is it gonna be bags? Are you gonna brand them? All these things take up extra time and money, but we think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and it makes you look really professional.
Yeah.
It's not too loud.
Another thing you're gonna have to deal with are taxes, which we're not gonna get into too much. Just be aware that there's federal income tax, and some states have a state sales tax as well, so just look into it.
Once you figure out taxes though, it's not too hard. It's just the figuring them out that's hard.
And then there's a lot of logistics that are specific to craft fairs, so things like signage for your booth. We did an About Us sign, we did a little business card display, pricing display, a big chalkboard A-frame. So again, all of this is optional, but it makes your shop look a lot more professional.
I think that worked pretty well.
You also need a credit card swiper so that you can get paid. We use PayPal here. There's also Square, and they're super easy.
I paid myself one business card.
Lastly, there's just little things to remember, like allow for enough setup time, bring things like duct tape, which you will always need, drinks because you're gonna be standing around for like 6 hours, extra tape, scissors. We have a full list of all the things we would recommend on our blog, so we'll link to that below.
And I think that's it.
I think that's it, yeah.
So as you can see, there's a lot that goes into it. Literally a lot, but you can totally do it and it's really fun, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know this is a little bit of a non-traditional video for us, not having a build in it, but if you have any questions, let us know, and we should have a build video or something else cool coming your way soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. It won't fit.
That's what she...